kitchen laboratory of Pearl McCleary, and today is October the 22nd, 2008, yes. So the lye is already on the stove. Oh no, the tallow.
I have to cool the lye a little more.
What do you mean by clean, Pearl? Clean.
Well, don't take the frying fat or something and pour it into a jar and keep it and have a whole bunch of gravy and everything on it.
Okay.
Make sure it's not old and rancid.
Okay.
Rancid fat can hardly be rescued because you know what rancid means. It's terrible.
It's gone.
So clean, and it's not fresh because it's been in the freezer a while, but
Uh-huh.
are you listening to me?
Yes. So this is the lye.
This is the lye, and when you put the lye into the water, it gets very hot. That's the chemical reaction. So you have to cool it down to about, just about room temperature.
And you have a thermometer because you wouldn't stick your finger in there to test the temperature.
Oh, I feel the outside of the pot.
Oh, you do?
Well, yeah.
But the lye would burn you if you put your finger in it.
Well, more than one way. They're corrosive, you know.
Yeah. And you use a wooden stick to turn it?
This stick comes from a maple tree in the backyard. I made a new one. Here's my old one from years of
Oh
use.
my.
It lasted a long time, but lye eventually eats it away, you know. So I just made a cute little one from the maple tree in the backyard.
Say.
So
Smells like ammonia.
that's not from abrasion. That's just from the lye
Oh, just the
disintegrating
lye. The lye eats
the
it.
wood.
Like wood is pretty tough. This won't get all eaten up for a long time. But after years, it takes out the whatever. This is the some kind of fiber. It lasts longer,
Mm-hmm.
but it takes off the inside.
So it diminishes the glue that would hold the fibers together
Oh, I'm sure.
in the wood.
So you're setting it in cold water
Yeah, this
to
is.
gradually.
I'm going to put a little more cold water here. It's just, I think the fat is just about ready.
Take the heat out of the water. So the fat is clear when it's warmed up. Is
Oh,
it,
yes.
before you warmed it up, was it clear or was it white?
Well, it's kind of white because it's cold. It's white. Yeah.
And this is beef tallow?
Yeah, I was going to, just when I'm starting, I was going to tell about it.
Oh, okay.
So you don't
Okay.
have to keep all this if you don't want to.
So is tallow the same thing as fat?
Well, they call beef fat tallow, usually. And pork fat is lard.
Okay.
So this is about 90% beef fat and 10% pork fat. The pork fat helps to make it less brittle. If it's all beef, sometimes when they go to cut it, it'll crack the way you don't want it, you know.
Yeah.
So the pork fat is a different texture, you know.
Yeah.
It melts at a lower temperature. I'm just going to,
Okay.
yeah, when I'm ready, I'll tell you more of the story.
Yeah.
I'll put it over here because this is where I will do my stirring. about 113 degrees now Fahrenheit. I'd like to get it down to about 108. Because if it's too warm, you have to stir far too long, you know. You just stand there and stir. Have it ready.
Huh.
So that water wasn't heated up at all.
No, you start with cold, soft water. It always says soft water because the minerals in hard water would make it less sudsy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It takes up more of the lye if you have minerals in. So I use the water from the dehumidifier. It's almost like distilled water, eh? It's as soft as you could get.
Mm-hmm.
So I have that. And,
So that's what you have in your recipe here, cold soft water.
yeah. I have to wait a little bit longer to get things just right temperature. This is a dairy thermometer.
That's about the right range of temperatures.
Oh yeah, it goes from it's Fahrenheit goes up to 200. Well, I guess it goes to 210 because that's boiling in Fahrenheit, eh?
Okay.
Yeah, if we you just stop for a bit, and this takes another few minutes to get cool enough. I don't want to bother putting it in cold water to cool it, and just getting cooler. Leather gloves. I mean rubber gloves. Leather gloves. Now today we're going to make soap. I used to make demonstrations of soap making, and I would go to the fair or just on the street outside the archives, and you would take your pots and pans and go through the process. But you talked about it and did something, but talk doesn't make soap. And when we'd be finished with the demonstration, we'd only have make-believe soap. So today, I'm going to make real soap. Now in this pot, this is a retired dish pan. It does really well for the job. In here I have 10.5 cups of melted fat. And right now it's about 108 degrees Fahrenheit, which works pretty well, I found out. And as far as the lye, it's in another tired saucepan without a handle. It has 6 cups of soft water and what we used to call a can of lye, which is 9.5 ounces. And when you put the lye into the cold water, the chemical reaction heats it up. It's not boiling, but it gets quite hot. And fumes come off it. And you got to wear rubber gloves, don't forget. And the fumes come off it when you start to stir it, so you got to move away. Fumes come up like that. In a few minutes, you can go back and stir it some more. And I put in maybe less than half a cup of borax, the recipe says, and a couple of tablespoons of ammonia. So we just waited now until it got cool enough, more, sort of like room temperature, not as warm as the fat. So now I'm going to put them together. And I have my special stir stick here, and you pour the lye into the fat slowly. You don't dump it all in at once because you've got to give it a chance to combine. So just stir it slowly and put the lye in, the lye in like that. And not sure how many minutes. You can't really time it. It all depends on the temperature. When you have stirred enough, after a few minutes you'll see it sticking to the edge of the pot a little bit, which means it's cooling. And these things sort of work by temperature. And when I could see it sticking to the edge of the pot, I knew it's cooling. And you don't stir it too much longer because it would start to separate. The lye would come out in little bubbles on the fat, and it would make pockets, sort of pockets in the soap full of lye, and that's not a very good idea. So there, I've got the lye in there now, and I'll just keep stirring and looking at it. That's all you can, the only way you know. Because I don't use a thermometer for this. I use it until it's the right temperature, and then I take the thermometer away. So this is sort of the tedious part. And I better set my molds here. These are Tupperware. They just work fine. You can use nearly anything but aluminum. Aluminum would just fall apart if you put lye of any kind or even this fresh soap into it. So I have my Tupperware that seems to suit the size of my bars of soap. So I have put some Vaseline in the inside. It helps so that the soap wouldn't stick when you start to dump it out. That'll be tomorrow. When we get this where we think it's ready, we put it into the molds and put it away, put it out of the way and cover it with like a bath mat or something, because it stays warm. The reaction hasn't finished when we put it in the molds, so you cover it so it'll stay warm, and tomorrow morning it will be 2 big bars of soap. Now it hasn't started to stick to the edge yet, so I've got to watch carefully. But it's looking pretty good. It's starting to thicken a little bit. Some recipes say stir it until it's the consistency of honey. Well, I don't know what consistency honey is when it's either warm or cold, so I just have my own system, looking at it and deciding when it's ready. This is a paint stick. Everybody used to, I guess they still do, get a paint stick when you buy a gallon of paint. It says use Moore's paint. So we'll do that someday. See, this is more or less the tedious part, but you can't go and answer the phone or something and leave it sit, because it might, if you don't stir it enough, the grease will come to the top, because it's lighter. It has to be more or less well combined, and then it starts to set. I'm going to pour this into the molds. Try to make it even. And then I'm going to look at it to see if one is fuller than the other. I think it is. I'll take a couple of spoonfuls out of here if I do it fast enough. Put it over here so the bars of soap will be more or less the same size. Now we're just going to put this in the other room out of the way, covered with a bath mat or something, and leave it, and tomorrow morning we'll have 2 big bars of soap. Okay, we cover this up because it's still warm, and even tomorrow morning it'll be a little bit warm. It's still reacting. The lye and the fat is still reacting, but it'll be nice and solid tomorrow. Now this is going to be tomorrow's soap, and that was soap from 2 days ago. And I have cut it up and trimmed it to make it look like a bar of soap. After the soap is, when the soap is fresh, it weighs more than it does later, so I have a little scale and I weigh it. So many grams last week, and this week it's about 10% less. Now it takes it about, maybe 2 or 3 weeks to stop shrinking. And by that time it's you can just put it away in a box or something. Be sure and keep it dry. Soap will never spoil if it's dry. If it's not dry, it could start to get moldy spots on it. And that's not good soap.